My topic is, will South Korea's ongoing political drama ensure that its relations with North Korea do not improve for the foreseeable future? For decades, analysts have framed inter-North Korean relations as a question of ideology: conservative versus progressive, deterrence versus engagement, peace versus pressure. But today, the framing misses the real problem. The biggest barrier to improved relations between South Korea and North Korea isn't ideology, it's their dysfunction. South Korea's ongoing political drama has hollowed out the state's capacity to negotiate with the North. It's invited provocations from Pyongyang and pushed Seoul deeper into dependence of the United States. As a result, even if South Korea wanted to reapproach and redo its relations with North Korea, its international instability ensures the relations with North Korea will not improve for the foreseeable future. First, South Korea's political drama has produced bureaucratic paralysis, making meaningful diplomacy with North Korea and Pyongyang as a whole impossible to execute. Inter-Korean engagement is not just a summit, it's not just a handshake. It requires consistent coordination across ministries and across the border, long-term planning, and ability to follow through on commitments. Yet South Korea's political instability has created consistent leadership turnover, unclear mandates, and risk-adverse institutions. When ministers are shuffled, appointments withdrawn, or policies questioned amid their scandal, bureaucrats become hesitant to act. No official wants to authorize aid transfers, reopen joint projects, or advance negotiations that could later be condemned by a rival faction. This creates a state that can only announce dialogue, but never actually deliver on it. From North Korea's perspective, the dysfunction is fatal to diplomacy. Pyongyang has learned from its experience that South Korea promises just collapse under democratic backlash or leadership change. If Seoul cannot guarantee continuity, North Korea rationally concludes that engagement is a waste of time. Thus, South Korea's international and political drama doesn't just delay its diplomacy, it structurally prevents any diplomacy from happening. Second, South Korea's political turmoil actively encourages North Korean provocations rather than cooperation. North Korea is a strategic actor that closely monitors political conditions within the South, and history shows Pyongyang often escalates during moments of instability. Political drama signals distraction, division, and vulnerability. Conditions are ripe for testing boundaries. When South Korea is condemned and consumed by domestic crises, North Korea perceives an opportunity. Missile tests, border incidents, or drone activities that use to probe responses and exploit internal divisions. These provocations then trigger predictable reactions inside South Korea, like public outrage, media frenzy, and calls for tougher security measures. The result is the hardening of South Korean policy precisely when diplomacy would be otherwise possible. This creates a vicious cycle. Political instability invites provocation, provocation hardens altitudes, hardened altitudes make engagement politically toxic, and failed engagement reinforces instability. Instead of acting as a catalyst for escalation, it locks both sides into confrontation rather than any real political dialogue. Third, South Korea's political drama pushes Seoul into deeper dependence on the United States, undermining inter-Korean diplomacy altogether. When domestic legitimacy is weak, governments seek external validation and security guarantees. In South Korea's case, this means leaning more heavily on the United States alliance through joint military exercise, deterrence rhetoric, and alliance signaling. While it may stabilize South Korea internally, it devastates prospects for reconciliation with the North. Pyongyang does not want and does not view South Korea as an independent actor when the Seoul's policy is tightly bound with Washington. Strategic priorities, instead, North Korea is increasingly framed South Korea as a proxy state to the United States, as an extension of U.S. power rather than a sovereign negotiating partner. This perception matters. North Korea is far less willing to negotiate with a state it sees lacking autonomy. As South Korea's internal turmoil increases its reliance on the U.S., Pyongyang disengages further away from inter-Korean dialogue, redirecting its focus towards military deterrence and constitutional hostility. Thus, political drama doesn't weaken South Korea internally, but it erases its diplomatic identity altogether. Several other factors also include this. Recently, South Korea impeached their president for putting them under martial law, and their president was now, as January 24th, he was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Political turmoil is horrible within the South, attacking all future relations with the North. In the end, the failure of inter-Korean relationship is not about missed opportunities or bad intentions. It's about the capacity for South Koreans' ongoing political drama and how it's crippled its bureaucracy, incentivized North Korean provocations, and deepened dependence on the United States, all of which makes improved relations structurally impossible. Even if leaders expressed openness to dialogue, instability ensures inconsistency breeds mistrust, and mistrust guarantees stagnation. Until South Korea restores political stability and institutional coherence, North Korea will see engagement as a risky, temporary, and strategically pointless. For the foreseeable future, then, South Korea's internal turmoil does not merely delay peace, it ensures peace cannot happen at all. Thank you.